forget how important it is to make public arguments and to bring facts to the attention of people. I write a newspaper column, so I have a lot of pet peeves. And one of my pet peeves is the assumption that Americans are fundamentally selfish, self-involved people. Yeah, we've got those tendencies. I'm a Catholic. I believe in original sin. And as Reinhold Niebuhr once said, original sin is the only empirically verifiable doctrine of the Christian church. So I know we have our flaws. But there is a great history in this country of people getting mobilized when they learn that things are wrong. And so I have this pet peeve against a certain kind of moralism on the left and a certain kind of moralism on the right. Moralism on the right says that all of us liberals, and I don't mind being called a liberal, all of us liberals or progressives, somehow have immoral values. God knows what we want to do to children, or it's as if we want compulsory pornography on television or something. I've never met a liberal like that. In fact, I am the father of a teenager, a pre-teenager, and a 9-year-old. I can tell you my values are quite conservative on a whole lot of issues. The closer they got to the teen years, the more conservative my values became on some things. And so I don't like it when conservatives say that we are a bunch of hedonistic, immoral people. But I also don't think it's good when liberals or progressives say that all these conservatives out there are totally heartless. Now, it's one thing to attack and criticize what happens up here on Capitol Hill. But I'm talking about rank and file people. And when you look at an awful lot of people who call themselves conservative in the country, and then look at where they write checks to, do they care about the poor? Do they care about social justice? I think a lot of people who call themselves conservative in the country actually do. And I think the task of those of us who are in journalism and those of us who are in your kind of work, including those Emerson fellows, is to bring things to the attention of the American people, because I think when people know things, they tend to want to act upon them. The second pet peeve I have that I just want to put on the table at the outset is sort of what happens with liberals and progressives when they go to Congress and they basically say, why are all these people so gutless? Why can't they do the right thing on my issue? Why don't we have universal health coverage, which I am for? Why don't we spend more to lift up the poor, make sure there's nobody hungry in the country? And so they tend to sort of bash the politicians and say they're not doing enough, which is usually the case. The problem with that is I think we face a really serious choice in the country, and only people on the edges of politics can actually begin to change the national debate. I do not believe that we can do the things through the public sector that we need to do without a tax increase. But you say that. It's easy for me to say that. I don't have to go on a ballot. I don't have to face a voter. And I think it's very important for people who believe in public action to begin to change the larger debate about fiscal issues in the United States. At this moment in a globalized economy, there is an enormous amount of economic insecurity that did not exist in the earlier kind of economy. It doesn't mean there's not extraordinary economic growth. It doesn't mean there aren't a lot of good things happening in the country, but there are a lot more people who could count on certain things that they can, in their standard of living, that they cannot count on anymore. There's a book I commend to you by a Yale professor called Jacob Hacker, a young writer who actually wrote his PhD thesis outside my office at Brookings. So I'm very proud of Jacob, and Jacob has become a really big deal in the policy world. And Jacob wrote this book called The Great Risk Shift. And what he argues in that book is that we've had an enormous shift of risk away from both government and the corporation onto the individual. You know, we talk a lot in the United States about how, well, the Europeans have a much bigger welfare state than we do, and they do. But we in our country had a fairly sizable welfare state that ran through the private sector. You can't use the word welfare. It's really a social insurance state that I am talking about, where people could count on their employer for good health coverage. They could count on their employer for decent pensions when they retired, and they could count on a reasonable amount of job security. Well, we know what's happening to pensions, we know what's happening to health care, and we know, in many cases, what's happening to job security. So it's my view that if we're going to have a just society, we can argue about trade till, for the next 5 years, but no matter what we do about trade, if we're going to have a more just society, we're going to need a public sector that can fill in some of the gaps. One of my favorite lines is from Jesse Jackson, who got into trouble on something, and he was apologizing. And his way of apologizing was that he said, God isn't finished with me yet. God isn't finished with me yet. Now, I love that. And my wife says I'm that kind of Catholic who thinks once you confess, it's all forgiven. And that's it. Nothing, no consequences. I hope that's not true, but she's pretty shrewd. Therefore, God is not finished with me yet. It implies always a capacity for reform and renewal and redemption. And I've started to think that that slogan, or that prayer perhaps, applies very much to the United States of America, to our country. I think the genius of our country is not that we always do things right the first time. Lord knows we were a country that had slavery for a very, very long time. Women didn't begin getting the vote until, I guess it was 1890 or 1870 in Wyoming, and it took a long time to get that. A lot of things we don't get right the first time, but we have an extraordinary capacity for self-correction as a country. And I think our capacity for self-correction, our capacity for experimentation, and our capacity to try things that are new and different and to cast them aside if they don't work is really remarkable. So my version of the slogan these days is, God isn't finished with us yet.